Lil Baby hasn't dropped anything that's made a very big splash. Now, he was featured on that Central Cee record, Band for Band, which ended up becoming a really big song. But it's of course not his song, and the perspective for a lot of people there seems to be Central Cee helped Lil Baby revive his career, which is...
That's gotta sting, man. Central Cee brought Lil Baby back? Nah, Lil Baby can hold his own. But that feature was the biggest thing he's done lately.
A crazy thing to say, because I think Lil Baby can hold his own, but if we take a look at the numbers, Band for Band has been the biggest thing Lil Baby has been a part of for the last 2 years. And don't forget, Central Cee is a UK rapper. He also dropped a song in early 2022 called Right On, which I feel like is really underrated. That's probably one of the best songs he's dropped in a while. Aside from that, he was featured on that one Nav record alongside Travis Scott, and then at the end of 2023, dropped a 2-pack with a song called 350 and another one called Crazy. A few months ago, he was featured on Bossman D-Lo's song, he's a new successful name in the scene, called PJ, which is a banger, I like that joint. And then very recently, he dropped 2 songs that I think are worth listening to, Insecurities and 5 AM. Aside from that, Lil Baby hasn't made that big of a splash, and the conversation now is, did he fall off?
The fall off conversation been popping up since 2023. They can't be serious. I get it, but dude's still got classics in his catalog. Let's not forget who he is.
Lil Baby made headlines for canceling several dates on his upcoming tour, which was supposed to start, I believe it was in August 2023. Around 3 weeks before it kicked off, he essentially canceled multiple stops without explanation. In other words, he wasn't able to sell out those venues.
Hold up, he couldn't sell out the shows. That's a major red flag, fam. You can't be on top one day, and then the next, people ain't showing up.
This was a really big story back in 2023, and I feel like that's when the topic of his fall off became a conversation. These days, people aren't checking for him like they used to, and it does make sense. Ever since the pandemic, a lot of rappers and artists who were hot during that era are just not talked about anymore. Although streaming has dominated the music industry for over the last decade, a lot of the rappers who became hot off of the streaming era have seen a significant decline, and that includes Lil Baby.
It's a cold world. Streaming era changed everything. And if you ain't dropping something with substance, people forget fast.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with how fickle music is now, and if you're not an artist who talks about things that actually matter in the real world on a consistent basis, personally, I don't think you're gonna stick as much as the person who does cover those real-life topics. What's more important than that is that you connect with your fan base, and for someone like Lil Baby, I think a lot of the hype surrounding him and his name has been generated by the music industry, the blogs, and not as fan-driven as it should be. That's why you don't tend to meet die-hard Lil Baby fans. I mean, ask yourself this question. When was the last time you met someone who said, I'm a die-hard fan of Lil Baby? It's almost like they don't exist, which of course they do. It's just that certain artists thrive heavily on a cult-like fan base, while other artists are more propelled by general hype. That then feeds into an audience. In the end, it all leads to a fan base, but the question is, what kind of fan base does it lead to? Now, when that base isn't fan-driven, what tends to happen is you have a situation like this. You're at the top of the world for a year or two, and 3 years later, they're saying that you fell off, which has reflected itself in the numbers, so it's not coming out of nowhere. There is a lot of validity to that statement. However, from another angle, the good thing about someone like Lil Baby is that he still has a track record of consistency. On top of the work he's already put in, he also has an extensive catalog. And to be fair, this is another important factor of this conversation. Not every music listener knows who Lil Baby is. So if he, fucks around and gets another hit, all those new listeners are going to discover Lil Baby like he's a new artist, which is the dope thing about being a musician. You can be globally famous and still sometimes be unknown to certain pockets in certain demographics.
That's the beauty of being a real artist, though. The comeback. If Lil Baby drops that right track, it's like he's a new artist to a whole new crowd.